A lot of people in university, especially if you're students here, you're in that transition point where you really don't know what you want to do.
It's about starting your career search, not by thinking about jobs, but by thinking about who you are as a person.
How can I find my passion? And that's a pretty important question. So in today's video,
people are always like, what's my passion? What do I like to do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, if you only eat pizza and hot dogs, how do you not, know if, foie gras or sushi?
Series of interactive workshops where you can actually find out more about yourself. And today's theme is all about how you can find your passions.
So really, the question you want to ask, my man, is why won't the world pay you for your passion?
I don't know about you guys, but all the passion porn that's out there tends to make me feel a bit down about myself, to be honest. I think one of the most dangerous things about how we sort of conceive about passion in today's society is it doesn't take into account that changing and growing are things that you're even sort of allowed to do. There's this very limiting idea that we seem to have inherited for some reason that you need to find your one absolute passion, and it is the only thing that you're allowed to do. It's the only thing you can do, and every moment that you're not doing it, you're not living your best life, it's a complete waste of time and you're stuffing it up. And from what essentially we know about the psychology of high achievers is that's totally ass backwards wrong. There's this book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and it's like long and complicated, but the essential idea is that is the absolute opposite of how high performers see themselves. Everything is teachable and learnable. You are never a fixed point in time. You're always part of a process along a continuum. Don't get me wrong, a decent chunk of life is about talent. Like, I could never dunk like MJ. I'm 6 feet tall, but I could never be as good as that guy, right? But a much larger chunk of life is about resilience and hard work and always learning and growing. And yes, a growth mindset, that's the name of the book. That's why she called it that. What if you grow up a little bit and you realize your passion is actually sort of dumb and you hate it? What if there's no need in the market for what you have as a passion? I might have a passion to, weave baskets with Hugo Weaving's face on it and call it Weaving on Weaving, which is a fantastic idea, by the way. I'm still looking for investors. I'll stop at nothing. But if no one wants to buy it, then it doesn't really matter. If that's your passion, if that's the idea that you have and no one wants it, who cares? I wish I actually knew how to Photoshop Hugo Weaving's face into a basket-shaped basket of Hugo Weaving, but I don't have the skills to do that. This is why this idea is never taking off. The one and only reason. You need to find areas where you have or can develop competence and there's an ongoing economic need in the market for that thing. Why couldn't you have 2 passions or 3 passions or 5 passions and combine them together in new and innovative ways to make something new or better? Palm fist, as my instructor at university told me, you've got a palm and a fist, the other way around, and you smush them together and you make palm fist. And it's a new third thing. The vast majority of people that succeed in life generally aren't just super good at one thing. Like, MJ might be the best basketballer, Tiger Woods might be the best golfer, even if he's not the best husband. It's really, really, really hard to get into the top 1 or 0.1% of any given field. But it's not as hard to get into the top 25% of 3 different fields. And it might be an idea that I've stolen somewhat from the Jordan Harbinger show called skill stacking. You might be the only marine biologist that's studied law and is good at being a writer. So you might be able to write articles about marine biology law. Like that, all of a sudden, even if you're only in the top 20% or the top 50% of those fields, there are very few people that are all 3 of those things, right? So this is, I guess, what people talk about when they talk about finding your niche, is finding the areas of interest and competence that overlap for you like that. And also, like, what if your dream just doesn't turn out to be what you thought it was going to be? I mean, I studied acting at uni. I attempted to sort of push that career along for several years, but I never really got anywhere with it. And whenever I did get some professional acting work, it was always bloody miserable. It was always doing some commercial for some dumb company that I didn't care about. The work wasn't fun. The people weren't fun. It was an exercise to push myself along to the next thing, right? The idea of what I thought it would be and the reality of what it was very starkly different, to say the least. I spent so many years holding out on this dream that I never really tried to do anything else. Everything was just playing for time until the acting thing happened. But like beyond waiting for the King of Hollywood to give me a buzz and tell me that I had the new lead role in the new hyper-gory revenge fantasy Tarantino film that was being shot, what was I actually doing to advance that forward? And the answer was not much. And as such, I kind of spent my entire 20s wondering what to do. Not being happy with my choice, but not being self-possessed enough to do anything different. Buying into this ridiculous sunk cost fallacy idea that if I quit now, then everything I've done up until this point would have been a waste. And what I found I really like doing is combining my editing and improv and performing talents I have into a weekly podcast called Unnatural Selection, which we've been doing for over 10 years at this point. And things like these videos. I realized I didn't like acting as much as I like performing and making people laugh and hopefully think. And as I approach the end of my 20s, I think the most important thing I've learned is that it doesn't necessarily even matter what you pick, just that you pick something. Inertia is the thing that kills you. When you pick a direction and you start pushing forwards to it, you find stuff along the way. It just kind of happens. So for me personally, I'm using the opportunity that the coronavirus has presented to sort of reset and take a break and focus on studying project management for myself, because it combines a bunch of things that I like to do with things that I already know how to do, and it's got a really good economic trajectory going forward. I don't know if it's what I want to do for the rest of my life, but you choose something. It can be purposeful work that I can get behind, and for most of us, that's just about as good as you can hope to get. Your life doesn't need to be a Mills and Boon novel where you're quivering with intense just ripples of joy at every second that you're at work. That's a really terrible expectation to set for kids going into the workforce. Changing and growing is a good thing. It shows that you've learned and that you've grown and you've taken in new information. You know what they call people who don't change? Stubborn. Or politicians. So if you're listening to me, and I don't know why you would, my advice would be to encourage you to get out there, find something that you enjoy, that you're good enough at, and combines a couple of different things that you like and enjoy, and that there's a need for, and start chipping away at it. What's the worst that can happen? Other than spending the next 47 years wondering if your weaving on weaving idea could have been the thing that made you deliriously happy every second of the day. Spoiler alert, it was. Now you're going to be miserable.